Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad you're coming a little bit closer. We have a big space to fill up. In case you're so popular, we probably will. Except most of them are on excursion with the Jets or the youth are swimming somewhere. Welcome. I hope you're having a grand time at camp and enjoying all the stalls around and the fellowship. And it's all of a sudden one more day and then we go home. Except those who have to pull down, don't we, Jan? Not this one, fortunately. Yes, we're glad to have Kaysie back with us, and it is food remedies today. Now, we do have some handouts up the back for later, so I just want to pay attention here. So those who are closer, you've got a major advantage. So if you can't see up the back, you're welcome to come, unless you're very long-sighted. Anyway, let's have a little prayer to start with. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the health message. We thank you that a healthy body, healthy heart, healthy mind, healthy spirit honours God, and that it's a part of living the heavenly lifestyle. We just pray to be attentive, that you'll bless Kaysie richly as she presents, Daniel as he supports, and we're very glad to have them here, Lord, with their expertise and just happy personalities, and we want to just learn today something that will enrich our lives but also help us to be a better witness as we reach out to people and show them that we indeed care. When they really believe that we care, they might care what we believe. So we love you and pray you'll come into this midst now and we'll sense your spirit. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, Kaysie. Your own mic today.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to be here and to share on another health topic for you guys. How has your day been? Excellent. You're surviving the heat. Not quite as hot as yesterday. That's good. It's been so fun to be here at camp, and I've just been enjoyed connecting with you all and talking about food and talking about natural remedies, and I'm really excited to share some more of that with you today. So my topic is food remedies for this afternoon, and we'll be looking at different foods and how you can use them as a remedy for different ailments, and hopefully it will be practical and informative for you and something that you'll be able to take away and apply some things in your own life. Probably some things you've already heard before. There's hopefully some things that are new, and so I hope it will be a blessing to you. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a lifestyle medicine practitioner, very passionate about sharing health and well-being with others and inspiring them. And I worked for a number of years at Cedar Vale Health and Lifestyle Retreat. How many of you have heard of that place? Lots of you, that's good. So wonderful health retreat, great place to work and connect with people and help them in their health journeys. And I'm currently working at 3ABN Australia producing health programming for media. That includes television and radio as well. So it's, a real blessing to be sharing there and using my skills in a different sort of arena. So, that's a little bit of background. One of my favorite things to do, this is just another thing about myself, one of my favorite things to do in the kitchen, talking about food in the kitchen, is to make up, to cook something just with what is on hand. So no recipe, just think, okay, what have I got here? What can I make with it? And come up with something like that. And the other thing I really love to do is to make a recipe with a surprise ingredient, share it with people, serve it up, and then make them guess what it is. What's the surprise ingredient? And usually I try and pick something that is unexpected or you wouldn't normally put it in there, but it just works. And yeah, it gives me a lot of fun to do that. So that's just a little bit about myself as well. All right, moving on to the topic for today, food remedies. I wanted to start with a little bit of divine inspiration from the book of Isaiah. And you probably know the story. It's King Hezekiah. He's sick, and he's told that it's going to be terminal, and he cries out to God and says, no, I don't want that. Can you do something? Can you give me another chance, kind of thing? And God honored that, and in Isaiah 38, verse 21, it says, "For Isaiah had said, let them take a lump of figs and lay it for a plaster upon the boil, and he shall recover." And so they used a natural remedy as part of the recovery. And of course, we know God was the one who did the healing, but this is a biblical example that shows us how God wants us to use the things that he has created and provided in nature judiciously to help improve our health and to help treat conditions that are, conditions of sickness and disease, to help bring restoration. And so as we go through the different food remedies today, just to keep this in mind, that this is an approach to health which is something that that God endorses. All right, so the first topic I'm going to talk about, the first food I'm talking about, are onions. Good old onions. These things are one of the most common kitchen staples. Almost everyone will have them on hand for so many different recipes, and it's good to know how you can use it as a remedy, simply because it's just so easily available. And so some of the things you can do is, one of the first ones is to actually make a syrup. So you chop up the onion into pieces, pop it in the jar, and then you'll get some honey, and you'll put honey into the onion and let it probably come up just a little bit above the chopped onion, and then you'll just let it sit and soak for a while. And it will juice up a little bit more, go a little bit more runny compared to the original consistency of the honey, and then just put it in your fridge or something if you're keeping it over a few days. And you can just take little bits at a time, like a cough syrup. And it's really helpful for soothing your throat. If you've got a cold or flu or something like that, or if you want to give yourself a little bit of immune boost, you can just use it like that. And the honey makes the onion a bit more pleasant because it's raw, so it just makes it easier to handle. But the therapeutic benefits of the onion with the antiseptic, fungal sort of effects really get to work in that sort of a remedy. And it's good for any respiratory disorders, especially if you have mucus, because the onion tends to help break it up, and it also helps you be able to cough it out. So it's really good for helping get rid of that. Another way you can use onion is if you have an asthma attack. Obviously, this is to be used in conjunction with your standard treatments for that, but you could try this. Onions the compounds in it help to open up the bronchioles, and so if you have an asthma attack, you can just eat some raw onion, and within a few minutes it can help to bring some relief. So that's another different thing you can do. Another one is onion juice for ear infections. So if you have an ear infection, particularly if you've tried other things, it's just not quite going away. I know of someone who had a recurring ear infection for a long, long time, and no matter what they tried, they went through medical treatment and everything, they just couldn't quite get it under control. And they just put a little bit of onion juice in the ear. You kind of just put a few drops, and then you let it sit there, and then you let it drain out. So not obviously flood the ear, but just put a little bit in there so it can soak in the skin and then come out. And the vapors and the compounds in there can be, antibacterial and really help to get that infection under control. Another one is onion poultice. Has anyone done an onion poultice before? Yes, there's some hands up. This is a common one, a common remedy that's been talked about for many, many decades. You can just chop up and steam the onion, or you can steam it whole, just so that it's, taken the edge off it with the potency a little bit in terms of the vapors. And then you can just pulverize it up, put it in a cloth, and you might use it as a compress for a respiratory infection, or I think some people have even done a compress over the ear for an ear infection, a different type of thing again. But that's another use that you can have for the onion. You can even use it on your throat as well, sore throat. Again, just different remedies to try, different ways to combat those kind of things. So that's a little bit about the onion, and of course, you could probably do a whole talk on onions. There's other things, no doubt, out there that are that onions are good for as well. We did mention about honey, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about honey. This one, of course, is very good for wounds or burns in terms of the healing of it. And you can use raw, but if you're going to do it for a wound and you're wanting to get like an antiseptic effect, the Manuka honey is ideal because it's got the MgO, trying to remember this one, methyl glyoxyl content, which is a special type of compound from the Manuka flowers that's very antiseptic. And so that's why they use this even in medical settings to help treat wounds. And I remember one time I had quite an unfortunate burn on my leg that left a bit of a crater, I guess you'd say. And I'd done a few different things, but then someone mentioned honey. I thought, oh yeah, I'll give honey a try. Because by the way, this took about 2 months to heal, so I was doing stuff on it for a while. And the honey just felt so good on that wound, and you could see it just, the healing process was just flourishing when I was applying honey on it every day. I didn't actually have Manuka with me at that time. I just had some raw honey, and it worked really well. So that's a really powerful thing for those kind of situations. The other experience that one of my family members had with honey is my brother. He's someone with special needs. He is epileptic, requires 24-hour care by my parents. And he often gets injuries on his mouth from the seizures, biting his tongue or what have you, and other complications. And he had one recently where he had this big sort of gash in his tongue. And Manuka honey was the best option for disinfecting that area, because if he swallowed it, it didn't matter. And it's hard to work with his mouth anyway, so it was a really, really good option to just keep that cleansed while he was recovering. So that's some ideas for honey. Now moving on to lemons. Lemons, bright, fresh. It's so good to think about lemons on a day like today, isn't it? When it's hot, you feel like, maybe we should bring out lemonade or something like that. It would just be so appealing. So lemons, of course, are a good source of vitamin C. So anytime you're wanting to boost your immune system with some vitamin C, have some lemon juice. And it's also really good as a digestive aid. If you take a little bit of lemon in the morning with in some warm water, and you have it, say, 15 minutes before you eat, it helps to stimulate the stomach juices to flow, and it also helps create a nice acidic environment so our digestion can be very effective, and the enzymes can work straight away. And it's quite a good way to start the day with a kickstart of lemon juice. And the other thing about that is just to be mindful, if you do that every day, if you do it all the time, it's probably a good idea, unless you kind of scull the lemon juice down, to just drink it with a straw to try and get the acid past your teeth. So you just limit the exposure of acid all the time on your teeth, because sometimes that can wear down the enamel. That's a good way to do it. Lemon is also very good as a blood purifier, and it actually can help your blood get rid of uric acid. So there has been some research, not a lot, but some research that showed that lemon juice, in this study they took 2 lemons a day in 2 liters of water, and for 6 weeks they had it, and it resulted in reduced serum uric levels and creatinine. And these people were people who already had gout and hyperuricemia. So if that is something that is an issue, then this is a natural way that can help bring those levels down. Another one, again, to do with the circulation, lemon helping your blood vessels and the circulatory system working well, is garlic combined with lemon is a good one for helping to lower and reduce the fats or the bad fats in your blood. And so this one was a study where they took about it was about 20 grams. So depending on the garlic, it might have been 4 cloves, or if it was your bowl was this size, it might be maybe half a bowl or something. They took that much a day and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice every day for, it was over 8 weeks. And at the end, they had a clinical improvement in total cholesterol, LDL, fibrinogen, and also blood pressure. So it really, really helped with some of those cardiovascular risk factors. So I know that taking lemon and garlic is something that's often talked about as a way to help rid your arteries of clotting and all manner of things like that. I'm sure it probably does a lot. There's not a lot of studies on it though. But this is one of them that's out there that seems to be supporting the value of both garlic and lemon to help with improving your blood vessels in cases of like heart disease risk factors. All right, so that's a little bit about lemon, and because we mentioned garlic, we might as well go on to garlic. How many of you here likes garlic? Yes, there's lots of hands up. That's wonderful. I have grown up eating garlic. My brother liked garlic, but since I married my husband, I've eaten a lot more garlic because he is from Croatia. And that's the culture that just loves garlic. So I've learnt to eat garlic even more. And it's so good for you. So there are a number of things you can do for garlic. And one of the ones which I really like if you have a cold or a flu or something is to just take a clove of garlic, chop it up in really fine slices, pop it into a mug, pour hot water on it, and make garlic tea. And then you just drink that, and it's really soothing. If you've got like a irritated throat, it's just the punchiness of the garlic just really helps to help with that, feel better. So that one is a favorite that I've had for a long time. Another one that is one that I came across recently, and it mainly because I have had the problem myself, that is that you can actually use garlic for helping to get rid of athlete's foot. So fungal infection on your feet. And when I first read about this, I'm like, really? Okay, well, I'll try it because I've tried lots of things and nothing's really helping right now. So I thought I'd try it, and there were 2 suggestions. One, you could rub it on the area affected, just like cut a clove and then rub it on. And then another one was like blend it up and put it in water and then soak your foot in it. I tried that too. But the one I like best, I basically just crushed up the garlic and then put just a tiny bit of oil with it, so it's like carries it, and then just massage that all in my toes, and then put a sock on and let it soak in overnight. And it was the most soothing thing for it. And of course, with fungal infections, you have to just keep pushing at them because they tend to recur easily. But it's been the most powerful thing that I have tried so far in getting it under control and relieving it. So that one, if you have any issues along those lines, is an interesting one to try. Another interesting one, and this comes back to some research, is garlic. And we're talking about garlic powder this time. So if you find the fresh garlic a little bit too pungent for you, there's been research where they use garlic powder, and the effectiveness of it is quite amazing. And in this study, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder per day improved artery function by 50% in people who actually had heart disease already. And so the garlic's power to, again, improve the function of the arteries and the lining of the arteries and everything was working better after just having 1/4 teaspoon. Like, that's not much. A quarter of a teaspoon of garlic powder per day. So doable, if you had that condition and you thought, I just want to try something to try and help it, that's easy, this is something that can be done. And then there's actually been many other studies on garlic in cases of heart disease. And before I go there, looks like, So these ones some studies have shown it helps to lower cholesterol, it helps to slow the progression of atherosclerosis, so the plaque that's lining your blood vessels, helps to slow that down, reduce blood pressure, and act as a blood thinner. And it can be so good at acting as a blood thinner that in some medical and surgical settings, they actually recommend stopping consuming garlic a week before you have surgery, because it might make it more challenging to control the bleeding in the surgery. So again, it has a powerful impact on that circulation and helping it to flow really well and helping reduce the risk of those cardiovascular sort of events. So there's some very good things with garlic that we can do. And you would have seen the sneak peek before. We're talking about ginger as well. So ginger is a food which I really like. And of course, you can easily make a ginger tea for a cold or flu as well. Slice it up, pour hot water, kind of like you do with garlic, and that's quite nice. But there's also been, again, some fascinating research that's been done on ginger and its effectiveness for some various things. So I'll share with you some of those. Ginger, 1/8 of a teaspoon of dried ginger. So dried ginger, 1/8 of a teaspoon, very small amount, really, when you think about it. 1/8 of a teaspoon of dried ginger 2 times a day for a week, leading up to a period, so menstrual cycle period, for a lady can actually help reduce PMS symptoms. So that's a very good thing to keep in mind. And also, during a period, it can help to reduce cramping and blood loss, even by up to half the amount. So if you have problems with excess loss and that's affecting iron, what have you, this could be something that you might want to try to help reduce the loss and retain your iron. So this is, it's a clinical study that's been done on that, and they've seen these dramatic results. So that's that situation. Another situation involving pain and aching is, that was the second trial that I just mentioned. This one, is migraines. So they did this study and they were comparing, again, just 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger powder against the drug sumatriptan, which is a classic standard drug for migraines. And they found that it was pretty much equivalent in efficacy of helping to relieve the migraine symptoms in this study. And so again, it's a very easy remedy. Just take 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger. You could put it in some water, scull it down or something. When you're feeling the onset of the headache, you just take it then. And it's something like 3,000 times cheaper to have it that way rather than taking the drug. So if you find that's effective for you, then that's could well be a lifesaver for many people struggling with that condition. And it's very interesting because, this study is a systematic review on ginger for pain, and ginger has been, there's many studies that have been done on how ginger can help to relieve pain, and this is in many different situations, just a number of different conditions involving chronic pain, especially if there's inflammation involved. Ginger helps with that. So it's one of those things that if you can tolerate ginger, if you're happy to have ginger and you have a pain or something like that, just try it and see if it makes a difference. You can't lose anything, and there's not going to be side effects like trying other drugs. And there's one more here for ginger, and this one is in the case of diabetes. This is a bigger dose of ginger, so 1 to 1.5 teaspoons a day for 12 weeks. Resulted in a significant drop in fasting blood sugar and HbA1c, which is basically the measure of blood sugar control over a longer period of time. So this is something which you could consider. Now, obviously, the most effective thing with many of these lifestyle chronic diseases which we've been talking about is a complete dietary change that supports the healing and reversal of these chronic diseases. But sometimes that transition can be challenging, and so it's kind of nice to know some other things that have had clinical significance to help bring some things under control. And so some ginger is in that category. It's interesting, you may need to be careful just how your stomach tolerates having that much ginger in one go. Like 1.5 teaspoons is quite a jump from 1/8 of a teaspoon. And so you might want to mix it with some other things. It might be a bit too strong if you had it just in water and sculled it down. So you'd have to experiment with that to make sure it's something that worked for you. And there's been multiple studies on that, by the way. So that's just one, but there's actually multiple studies showing the clinical significance of that. So we've mentioned lemons, we mentioned garlic, ginger, honey, and so of course you could combine it all together and make a flu bomb. Have you ever done that before? Add them all in together, make a nice hot drink, and you're feeling miserable because you have a cold or flu, and then you sip some of that, and it brings relief, and it makes you feel a little bit better, and it's also giving your immune system a boost with the goodness of all of those things combined, and that can be a real good go-to. And I'm sure there's many different home remedy versions of that in different circles of what you add in that mix, but it's certainly a good one to keep in mind to soothe the sore throat and congestion. And while we're talking about immunity, vitamin C. So it's very interesting just to, I guess, keep in mind that the value of vitamin C in a whole food actually exceeds what you would get in terms of, let's say, a tablet form. So if you took, say, a 500 milligram tablet of vitamin C, and then you look at an orange, which has only about 50 milligrams in it, you think, what? The tablet's got 10 times as much. It's got to be better. Not necessarily. The thing that happens with the orange is it's got that much vitamin C, but it has a whole lot of other chemicals in there that help make what vitamin C that it does contain be so much more effective. And I think I had it written here, over 170 other phytochemicals contained in the fruit actually help enhance the effectiveness of the vitamin C. So if you have 1, 2, or 3 oranges or something, if you're really feeling like you need a boost, just know the value that you're getting from a simple fruit is huge. And that's how God made it. He put all of those things together, and when you go and are researching and reading and nutrition and many people who are studying this, it's just endless and almost infinite the way all the different chemicals work and the number of them in these simple fruits, that the way they just work together is just incredible to bring beneficial effects. And so the reason we have kiwi fruit there and capsicum is because one kiwi fruit gives you just as much vitamin C as an orange, and about 1/8 of a large capsicum will give you about the same vitamin C as an orange as well. So there may be some that you don't think of as much, but they are also really good sources of vitamin C. And the good thing about kiwi fruit is it's in season in winter, which means that's the time you really need an extra boost. That's in season right at the time when you need it. So that's a good one to keep in mind. At Cedarvale, we have kiwi fruit vines, and many of them. And there's usually boxes and boxes of kiwi fruit in wintertime. And they're just beautiful. Kiwi fruit fresh off the vine, if you've never tried it, it's something else. It's so, so good. The flavor and the sweetness is just amazing. All right, moving on from there to a different one. This one is oats. So oats are a very good source of fiber, very good whole grain. And as a whole grain with a lot of fiber, they're good at helping to reduce cholesterol levels because the cholesterol binds to the fiber and then gets carried out of the body. And it's also good for helping with blood sugar control because it's got slow release energy, slow release glucose into the system. So it's actually quite a bit of studies that have been done on it for diabetes, and that it is a very good way to help regulate your blood sugar by having that as part of your diet. And I think this has been a remedy that's been going on for probably over 100 years ago, is when people realized the significance of oatmeal on regulating blood sugar for diabetes. And I think the guy who sort of joined the dots for that, he was obviously encouraging this, but there was just so much skepticism at that time. Like, what is this? How can that really be helping to control the diabetes? But of course, 100 years ago, there wasn't the knowledge that we have today about how this stuff works. And now we really understand how the fiber helps the glucose to just come out in a more measured fashion. And that's just what your body needs to help manage the blood sugar. So that one is really good. Another interesting one, I don't know whether you have ever tried this, but so that was about the diabetes. Using oats as something to soothe inflammation of the skin. That is something that is really, really amazing. I remember having that as a kid. I'm trying to remember what I had at the time, but I think I might have had measles, yeah, that would be right. I think I might have had chicken pox, maybe something like that. But yeah, just itchy, irritated, just feel gross from it all. And so I was put in a bath with, I think like an old pantyhose stuffed with oats. And you could just play in the bath with it and squeeze it all out, and all of that the milky kind of texture from the oats comes out. It just felt so good. It's just so soothing. And this study was fascinating because it was actually used in some cases of dermatitis that were as a result of some very specific chemotherapy. And this was like a side effect, and no matter what they had tried, they just didn't know how to bring relief for this effect. And so scientifically, they say they used colloidal oatmeal, which is basically oat with water, and it brought huge relief in all cases. Some people complete relief, some people like 60% relief or something, but everyone felt better with having this as a way to relieve that discomfort from the inflammation in the skin. So that is a nice one to keep in mind if you have any sort of irritating skin conditions, if you get attacked all over by mozzies or something and you just need some relief. So oats applied to your skin like that is a really good remedy. All right, then we have things like flax seeds. How many of you here eat flaxseed regularly? Well, there's a few hands. This is good. So flax seeds are like nutritional powerhouses. They're very, very good for you. They're full of lots of omega-3 fatty acids, and they're also very good sources of tryptophan. And if any of you have been involved with the Depression Recovery Program by Dr. Neil Nedley, you'll probably remember that he recommends having these to help as one of the things to help with depression. And the reason for that is because, yes, the omega-3 is what your brain needs to function, but the tryptophan is what your body uses to make melatonin, and in turn convert melatonin into serotonin, which of course is the happy hormone. And so when you're depressed, you need more of that. And so if we give you the raw materials, then your body can make it, and then you'll start to feel better. And I remember there was one time where we were helping someone who had really severe depression, and his was very severe. It was clinical and had other addictions and very complex situation. Anyway, we got him onto this, having a couple of flaxseed tablespoons ground per day. And it was very interesting because with his level of depression, we could tell if he missed just one day of the flaxseed. His thinking and reasoning was not as good. It was that you could tell his mood was more depressed. It just wasn't working as well. And so, especially if you're in a situation like that, having some flaxseed each day can make quite a difference. And obviously, if you don't have the struggles with depression, you may think, oh yeah, whatever, that you don't notice it as much. But certainly in those situations, it's a really good one to keep in mind. But if you are having it for the first time, just be mindful that it's good for another thing. It's very high in fiber, and so it can clean you out quite well. So if you want to take it on board, then maybe just build it up slowly. So when you let your digestive system sort of get used to it, and then you'll probably handle it better. So also, interestingly enough, flaxseed has been shown in some studies, and this one in particular, to have antihypertensive action, and so help to bring down blood pressure quite significantly. And that was with, I think, 1/4 cup a day. So it's a fair bit. But what I think the mechanism behind what they think, how they think it's working is actually helping to reduce inflammatory markers in the bloodstream. And as a result of that, helping to lower the blood pressure. So it's quite an interesting one as well for helping with blood pressure. So then we have, in a different sort of direction, blueberries. All of you are just thinking you just want to eat the screen or something. No, the blueberries are good, but any berries are just so nice. And of course, they're packed with antioxidants. They're packed with phytochemicals and really good things to help you in your body fight off free radicals and things like that. But there's been some interesting studies on blueberries and how it helps cognitive function. And it's, very interesting. So I think some of these studies, they showed that if you have, let's say you have a big dose, 1/2 cup to a cup of blueberries, and then they test them afterwards, they put them through a whole lot of cognitive tests and look at how their brain's working and everything. And they found that it helps with certain cognitive functions, including memory. So if you have to do anything that, you're about to do some serious brain work, or you're about to go for a test and you need to help your memory, or you just need to help your memory in general, then maybe you can go for, have some berries more regularly. Blueberries are obviously in particular, but any of the berries are going to help with that as well. And so it's also, they did study on kids as well. I think I've got the different ones here. Even children, they showed better performance after having some blueberries. So it's not just for those who have more years behind them, but those who are starting out can benefit from some of these foods as part of their diet as well. Okay, so now let us consider rosemary. Now, rosemary is a beautiful aromatic herb, and we're just going to talk a little bit about some culinary herbs. Obviously, herbs are a very broad field, and you can go into all different directions that aren't actually edible herbs, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about this one. And this, along the lines of your cognitive function, this was a very interesting study here on the effects of rosemary on cognitive function in elderly populations. And so what they did, they gave only about 1/2 teaspoon of powdered rosemary per day. And then they looked at their cognitive performance and memory, and they looked at it soon after when they had consumed it. And just that much made a significant difference. But it was interesting. Once they tried in this study, they tried multiple different doses and amounts. So it went up to, I think it went from 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon to maybe close to a tablespoon. And they looked at all of these different ones, and they found that the best one was about 1/2 teaspoon. Once you got more, it actually had a detrimental effect. And so that's very fascinating, because it highlights that with a lot of these things, and anything usually that is good, there's often a point where you can have too much. And so more is not always better. But the good thing about this one is that the 1/2 teaspoon of powdered rosemary is probably about how much you would eat just in general cooking. Like if you're cooking with rosemary on potatoes or what have you, without powdering them up, the amount that you would probably eat would be in that zone. So in other words, just cook with rosemary, and it's going to be good for your brain function. So, all right, and then of course, there's this one as well, sage. Sage is a very interesting tea. It can be made into a tea, but it's a very interesting herb. There's records of people using it as a remedy, like as a tea, for a long, long time. They just haven't done a lot of research on it. But what they do know about it is it's anti-inflammatory, it's antimicrobial, and it helps with like good source of antioxidants. And some evidence suggests that it may be helpful for, again, improving cognitive function, and even things like menopausal symptoms. It's got like they're kind of like mimicking estrogens in there, but there's a lot of potential, but there's a lot more study that has to be done on it. But nevertheless, if sage is something that you can keep in mind of as something in the garden, if you're wanting to have a boost of antioxidants or you have some sage, what do you want to do with it? Well, you can make sage tea. And this is something that I was introduced to more recently because my husband's grandma, she, for a long, long time, has used sage tea to help with just keeping her blood going well, and also as kind of like a bit of a diuretic, because she has only one kidney. So this is my husband's grandma. This is the one I was talking about the other day, was 98, and she had COVID, and now she's almost 100. And all of this time, she's had one kidney, and she would drink lots and lots of sage tea just to help keep her one kidney, healthy and well. And I think that is something which she has really, really benefited from because of just the antioxidants and everything in there that has helped her. So, yeah, sage is one to keep an eye on and to maybe know more about in the future and use even more. And while we're talking about fresh herbs, or even just any culinary herb, whether you buy it in a packet, you can use any of these to make a nice tea. So if you have a cold or a flu or something like that where you're wanting to just boost your immunity and give yourself a real hit, any of these are good. So we've got oregano there, we've got thyme, we've got rosemary, we've got sage, and even mint. And if you can have these growing in your garden, that's good. But I find, at least for myself, even if I have these growing, when I'm sick, I don't often think about, I should go pick some, put it in a cup and pour hot water on it. Like, simple, really. It's so simple. And yet we just forget to do this stuff. So I say this and share this for my own reminding as it is a very good thing to do to really help in those situations, to give you an antioxidant boost. The essential oils naturally in these herbs are amazing, and putting the hot water can help bring some of that out. If you're breathing the vapors that's coming off the cup as you're drinking it, so good for you. And so you can take advantage of your herb garden as a simple remedy in those situations. Then we have turmeric. Now, this is a very good one. It's one that has, I think, got a lot of attention in more recent years, especially there's been a lot of research done on compound it contains, which is curcumin. And it's obviously one of the key things that it has as a benefit is that it's anti-inflammatory, and it also is quite anti-cancer in terms of its effectiveness, helping to prevent and alleviate situations where you may have some cancers. And there were so many studies that I couldn't even pick, but some of the issues that they've looked into and they found benefits are things like irritable bowel, lupus, improving endothelial function, so that's the lining of the blood vessel, that's just the very thin lining of the blood vessel, very important in terms of heart disease. And then ulcerative colitis, a whole range of cancers, there was a whole mix of them that have been studied. Then there's Alzheimer's disease, pre-diabetes, surgery, recovery even. and osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and the list just goes on, ways that this has been helpful. And of course, it's helping by combating the inflammation. And it's very interesting because obviously there's a lot of studies that have actually looked at the curcumin, which means they've actually isolated the curcumin from the turmeric, put it in a supplement form, and then given it in the study. But then there's other studies that look at just using the whole curcumin, the whole turmeric. And it's very interesting because when they have done some studies where they've shown, when they've compared just the pure curcumin with the whole turmeric, they find that the turmeric can actually outperform it in certain situations. And the other thing that they've done is they've pulled out the curcumin from the turmeric and just had curcumin, and then had turmeric that has no curcumin in it. And then they've compared that, and the turmeric without curcumin even has very powerful, almost equal effects, which means basically the bottom line is there's a whole lot of chemicals in there, phytochemicals, that are really, really powerful for helping reduce inflammation. And just by isolating one, you can be missing out on what else the whole root has to offer. And so that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, there may be some situations where having the isolated form is better, and couldn't tell you that in terms of the exact situations when that applied. You'd have to look at that in your own situation that you're considering. But it's just, I guess I'm bringing this up because it's a principle that often when we talk about foods, man has a tendency to say, oh, what's the most important thing about this? What's the most effective thing? How can we isolate that and then just give that, rather than just give it in the whole package, right? And that is something which is, over and over you see that in the nutrition world, and more there's the understanding that as God has made it, that's often how it's most powerful. And we're appreciating that more and more. And so that is for turmeric. That's it definitely applies there. Also, another interesting thing is that when the curcumin is in the context of the turmeric itself, it's actually better absorbed by the body than if the curcumin is isolated. So you're going to get more out of it if you're having it in the turmeric. And the other thing is, if you take turmeric and you have it in a meal where you're also having a fat source of some kind, that will help you absorb more of those active compounds as well. So that's where you think of the Indian food, and they have it in curries, and it's in there. It's got a little bit of fat, might be a little bit of oil or coconut cream or something in there. It's got the fat and it's got the turmeric powder. Like, those kind of combinations are really, really good for absorbing the turmeric, the bioactive compounds into your system. So those things that are important to keep in mind. There has been some recent research, and it's not to scare anyone, but it is to be mindful of, where they have, and this is with the TGA actually, where there have been cases where people have gotten liver toxicity from having supplements of curcumin, but even some turmeric as well. So it's something to keep in mind that, use these things judiciously, even as herbs. Simply because the body, how it reacts to some of these compounds is it automatically goes into detox mode. Like from turmeric, if those compounds go into the liver just wants to get rid of them. And so over time, if it gets overwhelmed, then it can cause some issues. But if you have the turmeric and you have it and it's absorbed, and you have it with some fat and it gets absorbed that way, then it will bypass the liver, and it will go straight into the bloodstream, and then it will go to the place in your body that is needed, and it won't be so overwhelming all at once on your liver. So there's some interesting thoughts about turmeric. All right, that was a bunch of things, and you can go on and on about different health remedies in the food space, but that is what I have prepared for you today, and I wanted to leave a little bit of time for questions. So we do have a little bit of time for questions. I'll do my best to answer them. But before I want to do that, I just want to recap on the story that I mentioned in the Bible from the beginning about Isaiah and how he had his remedy with the figs. And it's very interesting because the verses before that Isaiah, the verse in Isaiah that talked about the figs, are this part here, which says, this is actually what Hezekiah himself is saying. He's saying, the living, he shall praise thee, as I do this day. The Lord was ready to save me, therefore we will sing my songs to the stringed instruments all the days of our life in the house of the Lord. And this section is kind of like a song of reflection and praise that King Hezekiah is writing here as a result of his healing. And just at the end of everything that he says, he just says, oh, and by the way, Isaiah told me to put some figs on the boil. And anyway, it's all healed. That's just kind of how it comes across. And it just highlights the fact that Hezekiah was so enwrapped in the fact that God had healed him. Even though he used a natural remedy, he was so caught up with the thought that God had healed him that he just gave all the praise up to God and was so thrilled with that. And I think that's a real lesson for us. It's a real picture for us to keep in mind when we are using some of the natural remedies that we have available to us and that are things which God has created, that we would, just remember to give God the praise, because certainly in the health space with nutrition and research and all of this kind of stuff, there's a very easy tendency to focus on what has been created and the benefits and the individual compounds and nutrients that are in that food. And they'll say, oh, yes, this onion, because of what it has in it, I'm healed. And you've just given praise to the onion, right? So yes, the onion is great, but God put it there. And as people of faith, we must always remind ourselves that he is the one to be praised. And these things are just tools. These things are tools that he has made that I guess are opportunities for us to cooperate with him. And if we look at them that way, then we can have a very meaningful healing experience because of how we see the connections between what God has created and how we're using it. We feel like we are cooperating directly with him in that process. So they're just some spiritual thoughts to add to it that are really, really important when we are talking about healing, because Christ is the great physician. So I'll leave that thought with you. And I guess I just want to open it up with a little bit of time for questions. I'll do my best to answer. Probably don't have all the answers, but still I might be able to help with any questions you may have. I think Sue has some thoughts.
Yes, I was just looking at the flu bomb, Kaysie. Some people are saying, oh, it's like olive leaf extract, anything, you shouldn't just take it all the time. The body gets used to a certain level and it sort of dumbs down its own response. But can you take that flu bomb every day of your life?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, you probably could. Again, if it's got lemon in it, you want to watch your teeth a little bit. But it's, I guess, probably be cautious with that, just because, the variety is very much of an important part of our health as well. And so some things are, have them as part of your life regularly, but it may be you don't have to do it every day. Like, mix it up. I think you'll get better benefit from that, and it will be easier on your system probably to just have the variety, because sometimes if you have the same thing all the time, eventually there comes a point where your body just has had enough of that thing, and you might experience that as, I don't like that anymore, I can't even take it anymore, I can't even stomach it anymore, like I'm just over it. But other times you might actually, you can get sensitivities if you have the same thing all the time and don't have enough variety. So again, I guess I would say, unless it's something which you feel like you really need, and I guess on another scenario, for instance, with the case of flaxseed for depression, that might be something where you need, because it's almost like medicine for that person every day. And so in that situation, maybe it's good. But if you don't have to have it kind of in that same way, probably variety is better. Any other questions?
High blood pressure. Sorry, high blood pressure. What
Yes.
would you do to help that?
High blood
Bring it down.
Bringing it down? Yes. So blood pressure, obviously there was a few that were mentioned today. Blood pressure, key ones are salt. Watch your salt intake. And also make sure, have lots of foods that are high in potassium. Because the sodium, there's like a sodium-potassium balance that goes on with your blood pressure, and sometimes you just need, you need more potassium foods to help bring it under control. So with that, again, you're looking at all your fresh fruit and vegetables are really going to help add into the potassium. What else is there? High blood pressure. Obviously, stress management is part of that. And sometimes if you might even have to look so far. And again, this is like the whole person picture thing. Some cases of blood pressure can be from chronic stress that can go back a long time. Like they've been living with high blood pressure and their diet and lifestyle may be all good and they still don't have an answer. And then maybe it's related to, I don't know, trauma or something like that. Maybe dealing with that can help calm the system down. So there's different things as far as that goes. But yeah, avoiding the salt, plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grains. There's some of the key ones that you would try. Exercise, yep.
Making sure you have 8 glasses of water a day.
Yes, very good.
Dehydration puts the blood pressure up.
That is very true. And the blood gets thicker because there's less liquid in it. So that is true. Thank you for those thoughts. I think there was a question here and a question over there.
My question is processed honey against natural honey. Does the processed honey still have all the attributes that natural honey has?
Good question. So I think it wouldn't quite be the same as a raw honey. 2 reasons. Processed honey is usually heat treated, and so that could destroy some of the natural enzymes and more volatile but good compounds that are in the honey. The other thing is with some honeys, I think they may cheat a little bit and add maybe some glucose or something like that. If it's really a poor quality one, then you might have something like that. So usually if you're wanting a therapeutic benefit, honey that is raw, or if it's something like this, as a Manuka honey, you'll be better with something like that.
Thank you.
There was someone back there.
I just wanted to ask you about the ginger for the diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
You said 1.5 teaspoons a day. So do you have to take that just sort of all together, or can you sort of spread it out over a day?
Good question. I'm not actually sure what they did in the study. I would imagine you could take it throughout the day. It's just that every day they had about that much. So, yeah, I don't know that it would make a difference. It's probably easier to manage if you spread it out. It wouldn't be so intense on your stomach. So that's probably a good idea. Yeah. Anyone else? There's one over here.
My blood pressure was really high, and my doctor suggested, she's not a naturopath, but she likes whole foods, and she told me to go on to raw rolled oats, as raw as you can get it, and just put boiling water on it, and my blood pressure is way down now.
Oh, awesome.
I have halved my tablet, and some days I don't even take that because I feel much better.
That's fantastic. Ah, very good. Very nice. Thank you for sharing your experience. That's good. Any other questions? I think we're pretty much out of time. Time to finish. There we go. Thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your attentiveness and engagement with what I had to share.
Thank you. Let's give her a clap. It's beautiful. Thank you, Kaysie. We could sit at her feet all day. Kaysie, are you going to be selling your goods and your cookbook I got last night? I think I went to bed about 11:30. Sorry to be intemperate, but I was reading your cookbook. So are you going to be selling those Saturday evening?
Yes, I'm going to get them out this afternoon after the second workshop as well. There's a little bit of time when the resource centre is still open, so I'll probably be there.
Yes, all right then. So if you missed out on activated charcoal and some of the herbal liniments, it's a nice little place to visit and to be your own doctor. Yes, thank you so much. Now we're heading over, those who want to come.